What's up, guys? My name is Angelo, and there is none good but one, and that is God. I spent 7 days exploring the Holy Land, and today I want to share with you my Jerusalem Top 15. Let's start off at the Garden Tomb. This beautiful garden is said to be the burial and resurrection site of Jesus Christ, according to the Protestants. The place is free to enter, and I enjoyed strolling through the beautiful gardens on a sunny day. If you make your way to the left side of the entrance, you'll find the burial tomb. Once inside, you'll have about a minute to yourself to reflect upon the tomb before the next person is allowed in. After seeing the tomb, make your way to the far right end of the garden to see what is considered to be Golgotha, which is the location Jesus was brought to in order to endure crucifixion. After that, we're going to head into the Old City through the Jaffa Gate. This is the most popular gate among tourists, as most of them enter through the Old City through this gate, but we are starting out at this gate to go on the Ramparts. This is the best way to see the Old City and escape the crowds below. Now it costs 25 shekels. You'll buy your ticket right here and then ascend to the Ramparts up these stairs. Scan your ticket and pass through. Now you'll most likely be the only person up here. I was, which made it so much better. This section of the Ramparts is a long walk, and it primarily goes around the Muslim quarter. You can gaze upon the inhabitants of the Old City below, and you can also soak in the views of Jerusalem anytime you please. I also like how there's some information along the Ramparts that tells you about the history that occurred here in ancient times. Now you can almost go around the entire Old City on the Ramparts, but once you reach the Dome of the Rock, the Ramparts are sealed off because only Muslims are allowed onto the Temple Mount where the mosque is located. Now the ticket you purchased is good for 2 days. If you want, you can continue the Ramparts walk or wait till the next day if you're tired. To continue, we're going to go back to the Jaffa Gate and descend down a small path that is located next to the Tower of David, which is this building right here. Show your ticket to the man and proceed again on the Ramparts, which will take you around the Jewish quarter and finish near the Dung Gate. This section of the Ramparts is much shorter. Once again, let's go back to the Jaffa Gate to make our way to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. This is considered to be the holiest site for Christians, and being a Christian myself, I was more than excited to come here. Now some advice: come very early to this place, because if you come after 9 a.m., it will be full of large tour groups that just crowd up the place, which may detract from your experience. Now as soon as you enter, you may see some people bowing down, kissing a stone. It is said to be the place where Jesus' body was anointed and wrapped for burial. Now take a right at the entrance up the stairs and you will see a window that is blocked off. It is said that in this room is where the Roman soldiers mocked Jesus and stripped him of his clothing. You may see a short line queuing up near a mural and an image of Mary. The small space in which people are bowing in is said to be the place where Jesus was crucified, and there is a hole where the cross was allegedly placed. Now descend down the staircase and make your way to the burial tomb before a long line forms. I spent a long time in the area where Jesus was crucified. An extremely long line formed at the tomb, and I had to wait in line almost 2 hours. As you are waiting in line, you'll notice the beautiful structure around which the line forms. The tomb of Jesus is within this structure, but if you come in the morning, look up towards the ceiling and you'll notice how the sunlight beams through. It's such a glorious sight to see. Towards the back of the structure, there is a small Coptic chapel. When you finally get around inside to see the tomb, you'll pass by a small altar, which has an original piece of the stone door that covered the tomb, until you get to the long-awaited moment. Next, you pass into the tomb. I placed my hand on the tomb and I kissed it in remembrance of how God forgave me on account of His Son. Now if you go back to the small Coptic chapel I mentioned earlier, you'll find a small room across from the chapel with a small cave in it. This is an Orthodox chapel and the spot where it is believed that Joseph of Arimathea was buried, who is the person that prepared Jesus' body for burial after he was crucified. Now back at the stone of anointing near the entrance, you'll notice a mural on the wall. Depicted under the place where Jesus was crucified is a skull with bones, so let's take a right into the small chapel that has a window in it. Behind the window there's a crack in the stone, which is believed to be the place where Jesus' blood flowed through. Directly above the crack is a place we visited earlier where Jesus was crucified. Now under the window is the place where it is said that Adam, the first man, was buried, and that when Jesus was crucified, his blood trickled down the crack onto the bones of Adam, redeeming mankind. Now, I would take some time to explore the rest of the church. There's a staircase to the right of the place where the window with the crack in it is. As you descend the staircase, notice all of the crosses etched into the wall. Down below is a beautiful atrium, and if you continue to go down the next staircase, you'll find yourself in another unique place. I don't know what that place was, but it was definitely a super unique area. Now, let's exit the church where we came in at and immediately go left to make our way to the roof of the church. This area belongs to a small community of Ethiopian Orthodox Christians, but we are here to make our way to one of the best hidden gems in Jerusalem, St. Hellena's Pool. Leave the roof at the opposite side from where you came in, and right at the exit you can see a small Coptic church in front of you. Go through it and leave 5 shekels at the door. Descend down the staircase and enjoy the pool. You will most likely be the only person down there. It is really a surreal feeling to be down here. After that, we're going to visit the prison of Jesus. This old cave is considered to be where Jesus was held at. You can enter into his former jail cell. What really shocked me is that this is also said to be the prison of the 2 thieves that were crucified with the Christ, and surprisingly, the prison of Barabbas as well, who was released from prison at the condemnation of Jesus. Now we're going to head into the Jewish quarter to see the Cardo. I'm calling this ancient Roman street the most beautiful area in the old city. This area was built by Hadrian in the 2nd century after the second Jewish temple was destroyed. The old pillars that remain and the old Roman road still tell a story of what used to occur here. The murals in this large room here show that this was a place where merchants were set up in shops, as this area was a center of commercial and social life in the city. When I went, there were little children running around and playing, which gave off a cheerful vibe at the place. Now let's head to the Last Supper room. This is said to be the place where the Last Supper was held, where Jesus and his disciples met before Jesus was betrayed. It was wide and spacious, but beware of the crowds that might show up suddenly. After seeing the room, you can ascend to the roof to get some nice views of the city. One thing you'll immediately notice is this beautiful church building nearby. It's one of the most stunning buildings in the old city. I don't know what was in the church, but you'll no doubt appreciate its beautiful architecture. Nearby, you can visit the tomb of King David. I believe this place is also a synagogue because there are 2 rooms with half of the tomb in each room, which separates male and female. Outside the tomb, you can find a beautiful sculpture of King David. Nearby to that, you can find a small Holocaust museum, which is an extremely interesting visit. The museum is full of exhibits. I immediately noticed the ambience and the color scheme in the museum that definitely give off a sobering vibe. Make sure you go to the back of the building, which has many plaques on the wall, which I believe may be the names of Holocaust victims. Now let's visit the Western Wall. Located in the Jewish quarter, this wall is considered to be the 2nd holiest place to Jews, as it is the closest wall to the Temple Mount, which itself is considered to be the holiest place. It is a massive open-air synagogue with men on the left side and women on the right. As I witnessed everyone praying at the wall, I suddenly felt compassion for them. Although it sounds foolish, I wanted to give everyone there a hug and weep with them. I did go down through the wall myself, as all people and faiths are welcome there. I put my hand on the wall and I wept and told God how much of an awful person I am. Next, let's visit the City of David. This is absolutely, hands down, one of my favorite places in Jerusalem. There's so much you can do here, and I recommend you do all of the things that I'll show you. Let's start by taking a left at the entrance to ascend up to the lookout point. This is the spot said to be where King David saw Bathsheba bathing on the roof, and he desired to have her. As I stood up there, I began to reflect on Psalms 51, which David wrote in response to his sin. Now let's head back to see the remains of King David's palace. Now it doesn't look like a royal palace at glance, but the people that excavated the place said that some of the stone walls are 5 meters thick, which no ordinary person would have had walls that thick back in the day. Also, some of the pottery discovered there dates back to the 10th century BC, which is the time of King David. Now let's move further on to see the Royal Quarter, or Area G as it is named. Just like King David's palace, it doesn't look royal at all, but it is said that a toilet was found here, which is a sign of royalty and wealth in ancient times. Now you can thank this site for helping you remember all that you take for granted. Jokes aside, they found round royal seals here with names of people from the Bible. Now that's an incredible find. Now let's head to the GIVATI excavations. This was the most impressive ruins in the city of David, as this archaeological dig spans 10 time periods, ranging from the 10th century BC to the 10th century AD. Each section of the ruins is named and tells you what it is. No doubt you'll be impressed to see so many vastly different cultural digs in such close proximity to one another. I also found this rippled wall to be pretty crazy. Now we're going to what will probably be your most remembered experience in Jerusalem, HEZEKIAH'S tunnel. Now to get here we have to descend down some stairs, then we have to continue down some old underground pathways, which will definitely build up the suspense. It's so awesome down here that I slowed down my speed and just soaked up the experience of the journey. As you continue to make your way down, you'll find yourself at a place lit up with blue lights. This place is said to be a 3,800-year-old Canaanite pool, which is absolutely insane if you think about it. It is fed by the nearby Gihon Spring, which was the main water source in ancient Jerusalem. The way it is lit up blue is just mesmerizing. A little further on down, you can push a button on the wall and a projector will slide down and show you a cool video about how the Gihon Spring fed the city its water. After that, we're going to go down and finally make our way to HEZEKIAH'S tunnel. Now this tunnel still has water running through it and it is pitch dark, so you need to bring a flashlight. The water went up to my waist only once, and the rest of the way it came up to my shins. I was the only one in there, which made for an unforgettable experience. It is a super long tunnel as it takes 30 minutes to go through it. There are a few sections where you need to squat down to proceed, but most of the way you can stand up all the way. I had crazy thoughts running through my head the whole time I was going through here. I imagined myself escaping a siege on the city through these tunnels, as if it were a secret escape route for royal princes and kings. As you near the exit, a person will open the door for you, and you'll immediately see an old pool that is still used for swimming and bathing till this day. Even I took a dip in those interesting waters. Now from there, you can go and see the pool of SILOAM. The followers of Jesus will immediately recognize this pool as the place Jesus sent a blind man to after putting clay on his eyes. The blind man went to the pool and washed his eyes, and he was no longer blind. It does look big, and it makes you feel like it is an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Now to the right side of the pool is a street that led to the pool in ancient times. You can see where merchants line up their shops there in order to profit from those going to the pool. Along the steps, you may notice on the right side glass panels covering broken spots. There is a massive drainage system that runs under the ancient city, and it is said that during the revolt against the Romans, that some people hid in the drainage system, and the Roman soldiers busted open the streets to get the people. Sounds friggin' intense. Finally, we're going to exit the city of David via another underground tunnel. This tunnel felt a little more cramped than HEZEKIAH'S tunnel, but I didn't care because I love these experiences. Now as you near the end of the tunnel, you will see the original foundation stones of the Jewish temple wall. These stones are underground, and above ground they hold up the western wall. Now after you exit this tunnel, you'll come above ground right next to the western wall. Now it is time to explore the Jerusalem Archaeological Park. This massive excavated piece of history reveals remains to several periods of Jerusalem's history that date back to the Second Temple period. It's so big, but I'll leave it to you to explore the park's many wonders as there's so much to see. I do want to show you two places that I loved here, and the first is the Davidson Center. This center was built on the remains of an old palace, and inside the museum it has interactive exhibits, a replica of the stone that lives inside the Dome of the Rock, and a few high-quality movies. I was very intrigued by the replica stone. The Jews believe that creation began here, and that it was where Adam was created. The Muslims know it to be the place where Muhammad ascended into heaven. It's a cool feeling being in a museum with walls made from old ruins. Now let's exit the museum and walk towards these pointy trees. Now as you walk through these trees, keep looking towards the left. You'll see a winding staircase that goes down below. Go down the staircase and you'll enter into my most favorite experience in Jerusalem, wandering through the old Byzantine dwellings. I can't begin to tell you how much I enjoyed exploring these old houses. For starters, I was the only person in there the entire 2 hours I took exploring the place. Yes, 2 hours, so let's dive in. Now these homes are so incredibly preserved. The walls, the ceilings, and the floors still had so much detail in them. Some rooms still had old furniture in them. Some even had modern furniture in them. Going through these old hallways was just the coolest thing ever. It doesn't end there. There is another winding staircase that takes you down to more ruins below. I don't want to spoil it for you, but you will find more stairs full of ruins to explore, and it doesn't stop there. After exploring the Byzantine houses, you'll find even more stuff to check out as you make your way around the area. Now it's time to get lost in the Old City. The Old City of Jerusalem is where most tourists immediately head off to, and with good reason, as so much of what is to see is located within the Old City. I recommend just walking about and getting lost in this holy maze. You have 4 distinct areas to roam around in. You have the Jewish, Christian, Muslim, and Armenian quarters. I never knew what to expect as I walked about each corner and street. My favorite moments is when I had an alleyway or a section all to myself. Literally nobody was going through these sections. Now as you're exploring the Old City, you'll notice these round discs that have Roman numerals on them. These all mark the stations of the Via Dolorosa. The Via Dolorosa is a path of remembrance where the Christ went through the city on his way to crucifixion. There are 14 stations in all. Each station remembers a significant event along the route, starting with Station 1, Jesus being condemned by Pontius Pilate, until the last station where he is laid to rest in the tomb which we saw in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Lastly, we're going to visit the Mount of Olives. I have already made a full video dedicated to this area which you can watch, but I'll briefly touch on my favorite places here. I really enjoyed the walk through the Garden of Gethsemane and reflecting on the difficult moments that Christ had here. I also really enjoyed the Grotto of Gethsemane, in which I had my most spiritual moment at. And that is going to do it for my Jerusalem Top 15. I hope this video helped you decide what you want to visit during your trip to the Holy Land. I have another video which will come out covering my Israel Top 10, so subscribe to the channel to see that video. Okay guys, I'll see you in the next one.